It's 4 a.m. and it's getting towards last call, and God knows you don't need another DUI. No cabs about, and they never want to go to Brooklyn anyways. Call an Uber, your buddy says. You say, what's that? He goes, it's this new app where they send an artist to come pick you up in their Corolla. You say, fine. And then who comes and picks you up? But a guy you used to do open mics comedy with back in the day. It's real awkward, and he starts hinting that he's going to come back out into comedy. Starts saying things like, if you ever need an opener, and you're like, yeah, man, for sure, of course. And then he says, remember I had a great joke about naming my baby Abortion? And you're like, You shudder at the thought of having to hear him tell one thing to an audience of people. I mean, for Christ's sake, he is bombing right now, and you're the only one in this Subaru. You start sobering for a bit on the ride home, and you say, I can just get out of here. You don't want him knowing where you live. And then you remember that as you get out of the car, he was kind of an asshole. No tips, 0 stars. This week on No Accounting for Taste, the gig economy. Hit the intro button!
Kyle, you're good with words. You know that, man?
I think the gym is dumb.
Did Rachel walk in the room? Of course I've eaten a Baconator.
Man, if you ain't doing CrossFit, you can get crossed up.
You're right. A long burger's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
That's your sitcom right there as a Mr. Fix-It-All who just can't fix his heart.
We will not be defending Atlantic City.
No accounting for taste. If it's something that somebody loves, let's try and celebrate it instead of shitting on it.
All right. I don't mind saying that might have been the best intro yet. And that even includes the opening to Star Wars. Anyways, guys, that was a gig.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought you did a great job.
Thanks, buddy. How's that cold one treating you there, Kyle?
Oh, man. Needed it today. This gig economy's beating me down.
Too. I'll feel you, buddy. Yeah. The gig economy queue at the Syracuse Funny Bone this weekend was...
Are we
not too hot a gig?
Are we gig? We're not gig workers. We're not employed by a beck and call app on our phone. But
I truly believe the only difference between you and I and Uber drivers is that they have cars.
I have a car. I don't live in New York City.
Oh, cool big man!
Let's talk about the gig economy. Let's talk about. Have you ever used? I've never used a Taskrabbit.
I've never used a TaskRabbit, but I have buddies who have done it.
And what do you do? It's just a sexless whore. You just come and throw your body around for some money.
Yeah, it's like my buddy Richie Tolway. He used to do it because I guess he's a pretty handy guy, and he said a lot of it was him hanging people's flat screens. They're too scared, you know. Like
Taskrabbit, like, too ugly for stripping. Taskrabbit.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, it's so clear that there's like just two completely different classes of people in cities like New York and LA. The people who will pay to get anything done, and the people who will get shit done because they don't have another option, and it might look like shit. But that's what TaskRabbit is. TaskRabbit is, here comes the super, but I need him now. Like I'm hiring basically a superintendent to do something that my superintendent will not do.
But that's what I mean. Like, at least with
it's a handyman.
Yeah, but they're not a qualified handyman. It's like, I'm going to give you money to do the same job I can do. Isn't that it?
Yeah. No, I don't know what the vetting process looks like. I don't think.
Yeah. What do you got to? Yeah. What do you got to do for at least Uber? You'd be like, yeah, here's my car insurance. I have a driver's license, and also, according to what surface level police background check you're going to do, I'm not a criminal. Which I don't think they do a good job on that part.
That's for sure true.
And TaskRabbit just seems like the beginning to every porn, and then it just doesn't come to the sexual fruition.
You think some guy was just like had his hand on his dick when he's watching porn? He's like, I have an idea. Like some app developer.
Yeah. Listen, nobody's paying me to fuck, but I can do the stuff that they're doing in the beginning.
Yeah. I think the only qualification for TaskRabbit is you just have to look like a worn down human being. And then you show up and
I mean, prostitution is the original gig economy, right? I feel it's weird that that's an illegal thing. Meanwhile, you can whore out every other aspect of your physical being for shittier money.
Yeah, and less fun.
Well, I'm not.
Depending on the fuck.
I don't think prostitutes are like, you know what the best part of this job is? I would do it for free. It's just such a great time boning all these super hot studs who just are just socially awkward, and that's why they're with a prostitute. They're not sweaty nightmares, sweaty, hairy, mole-covered disasters, just dripping perspiration onto their bodies for $50. I don't know how much. Yeah, I don't think that's why it's. I don't think it's fun. I'm sorry to ruin your idea of that sweet gig of being a prostitute.
I like Uber. I don't know what you want to say. Look, I did Postmates. That was one of my first jobs in New York.
Really?
I did Postmates.
How do you do Postmates with no car?
You can be a walker in New York because, yeah. What are you owing?
I just, in my head, like all at least revolves around like, I got my car, I'm by myself. And then you just.
No, buddy. I was taking other people's food on the subway in a bag and running it to their house. And it was darkness. I would do that. And I also walked dogs for a company named Swifto that fucking sucked. And they would have you go interview with the people's dogs you would walk. So I had two fucking gig economy jobs. I guess I never really thought about it, but I guess they were both that. And then people would be like, you would interview them, you'd meet their dog. And so when I wasn't having a scheduled walk, I would do Postmates in between. And it was fucking awful. And I remember one week I averaged 25 miles a day walking. Like my feet were fucking so sore.
Insane.
Yeah.
Did you just, and then at that, were you ever like doing like double duty? Like were you just holding like a bag of dog shit in one hand and like a.
Oh yeah. I was so fucking shit. I would.
On the other hand.
I never stole, but I kind of would take fruit from people's apartments and stuff like that. If it was like if a banana was out or whatever, or, like shit like that, I would do that. I took so many shits in strangers' homes. It was insane. And didn't care.
That's weird for
I don't care one bit.
Postmates driver to come in and shit in somebody's house.
Well, no, this was the dog walking.
I understand.
Thank you for being so
Hey,
this was my struggle.
Hey, man, I got you this double cheeseburger. Can I hit your can real quick? I got to brick out, man. Enjoy your
you're
lunch.
talking about prostitutes again. Can I hit your can real quick? You're a prostitute also?
I gotta I gotta give you a that was your move. You would shit, and then they would have to call Taskrabbit, and you'd be like, "I'm right here. I'm gonna unclog your shitter.
Let me just flip this on."
You built in a circular economy for yourself.
Hey, they say I'd go in there, I'd take a big dump, I'd be like, out with the old, in with the new, money to my wallet. And then
insulated income.
I did have to bring a guy a plunger once. And with Postmates, you would pick up anything, and they were like, cause they have like, I guess, monitors. They're like, cause when you pick something up,
yeah,
you had this dumb credit card, and then they would like see that you swiped it or whatever. And then people would be like, you'd have to start your trip to where you were going so they could see it. And I would always forget because I was just trying to like make good time. So I would just grab the shit and run out. And then I'd have some like tech person call me and be like, why aren't you on your way? It says you're still at the hardware store. And I'd be like, I'm like right in front of their house, because I would use Google Maps instead of the app because the app sucked.
It traces where you are.
And they would get real shitty. And I was like, I'm in front of their house. And they'd be like, well, you need to start the app. And I was like, well, you need to stop with the attitude. Like I would get like real shitty. It was like, and then I got a really low rating a few times for whatever. And then they made me go to Postmates class. where I had to like sit with all these other fucking goons who weren't good enough. We couldn't figure out how to drop things off according to their standard. Yeah. And then I was so broke at the time. It really was like a thing of like,
oh, this is sad.
You have to come to this. You have to make time to go to this class. And this was when I was still living on Yogi's couch. You remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And then like I could open the fridge from my bed.
Living on a couch, having to go to
which did not help with
class. God damn, dude. I'm glad you're alive right now because that's so sad.
Hey, stop acting like you fucking made all the best decisions in your life, all right?
Oh, no, I didn't, but that's a sad thing. Are you not agreeing that that's a sad way to live?
No, it's awful. I just get defensive. I'm sorry. I'm lashing out. I know you're being nice, and I'm lashing out. I'm sensitive. I'm reacting.
I feel bad for like Postmate like they are just trying to make a living. I personally hate Postmates. I feel like if, as much as I think I'm on the side of like eliminate student debt and like how all these bills, you hear how many people are like, oh, I spent $50 to Postmates Taco Bell. You deserve to be poor if you do that. You deserve to be poor.
Yeah.
I feel like you're just lazy. That's just shitty economics for your personal life. But I feel bad for the drivers because they're already getting crummy food for someone who's too lazy to get the crappy food for themselves. And then the crappy food, which would be marginally decent if you got it yourself, is now sitting in a car for 45 minutes. So your Crunchwrap
in
Supreme,
a warming bag.
Yeah, your Crunchwrap Supreme is just a wrap. It's neither crunchy nor Supreme anymore. It always just gets steam bathed. It always gets like sauna'd.
It's just kind of a pita disc.
Yeah.
It's just like a fucking flat, gross thing.
And then you blame the driver for it when it's really blame yourself for being too lazy to go get it yourself. Or if you don't have a means to get it, I guess. And it screws over the restaurants. And the actual companies take so much.
That's my big issue with it on that kind of stuff.
Well,
but we'll get into that in a little bit.
That.
There's good and bad.
Good, bad. I never had a gig economy job other than, I guess, being a comedian. I guess showing up to be singing
It's a gig
waiter.
economy career, buddy.
Yeah.
It's a gig economy career we got.
As I reconcile going to these comedy clubs that are folded into these company towns on the outskirts of major cities. They're like, oh, you can go to the Cheesecake Factory and get what you need from Claire's Boutique and then take in a comedy show and a movie all on the same night. And I can't help but think that all that money is going to the same real estate agent that opened that weird capsule of capitalism.
Yeah. It's just like we got to figure out what we have to turn this. We got to turn this Dillard's into a funny bone.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
What kind of night? What kind of authentic night? Are you trying to get Authentico Mexican? Oh, Italiano? It's all the same kitchen below the Mervyn's that they're cooking this shit at.
The dog walking thing was the funnest one. Because, that's like I'd walk into people's super rich apartments. Oh my God, this is a good Postmates story. I had to pick up like this place from called Gorilla Burrito or some shit like that. Some Uber fucking like it's a giant burrito, but it's also healthy bullshit because it's basically Chipotle, but like they had like Karanga sauce or whatever that made people fucking love it. And I had to take it into this super fancy high rise office building, and I like security check in. They gave me a cigarette. And I go in and the elevator opened into the office. Like there were no door to pull. And there were like 30 people in the center of the office. There's no separations or anything. Everybody's desks are out in the open. They're like 30 people in the center of the office having a meeting. And I just walk in like sweaty and just with a fucking black bag. And it was in the middle of winter. So I had a big coat on. And like 30 people looked at me like they were about to die. Like they were fucking horrified. And like they were really scared. They all looked at me like, I was like, you got a burrito for Jana? And they were all like, Han. And then I was like, I got you though, didn't I?
If you just yelled Gorilla Burrito,
It was a modeling agency.
Like that's your terrorist name is Gorilla Burrito. Gorilla Burrito strikes again, and you start knocking shit off desks.
It's a new kind of IED I've made. It's a Gorilla Burrito.
Man, just having a.
And I had to walk a modeling agency's dogs too. Oh, that was the worst. I walked to a house. They have these penthouses where models live in, you know, like, or a bunch of them will live in one. And one of them had a dog, and I had to go in and just be like, hello, give me your fucking mud. I'll go pick up this animal's shit for like, it was the fucking worst.
It's making me sad. This is just.
I'd have to hit poo button when their dog took a dump. I'd have to hit the like alert button that their dog took a dump, and they'd get a notification on their phone that their dog shit.
Take a picture of it and send it to them. Why? Why do they have to know that? This is worse than I thought.
I don't know. Some people didn't love it, but then it was bad. But I would also hit the button a bunch for fun. So they could just be like, I'd just be like,
I'm sorry, that was me.
Your dog laid a brick today.
I took a shit. That was me. I screwed up. I'm sorry about that.
I guess I don't need to hit the button. You're going to be, I doubt this will be, it's 4:30, you get home at 5, and I doubt the smell's going to be out of your apartment by then.
Oh, there's a poo button.
We'll be right back after this ad from Febreze, the natural odor eater of our days.
Hey, everybody. This is No Accounting for Taste with Kyle and Shane. We're talking about the gig economy, of which you probably partake on one way as either a proprietor or a customer. And let's talk about the good and the bad of this.
Proprietor is a strong word.
I throw that out there. I like to throw a couple $5 words around and make me sound smarter than I really am. Yeah, you're proprietor of your own domain. You're a gig economy. You're free. That's the good thing. That's what people sell about it. You work when you want to, which I love the idea of like work when you want, not because you have bills to pay. If you work when you want, nobody would work. Nobody wants to work.
True.
Stop phrasing it. Work when you want. Work when you're truly out of money and people will foreclose on your belongings. That's not want. That's not a want. That's a need.
It is in theory, it's a great idea, but it's just like they won't pay you enough to work when you actually want.
No. So we got to be positive. It's good, I guess, because you can make your own schedule. Once again, my schedule would be never because I'm lazy. I need a place to be like, be here at 8 or else you're fired. I'm like, okay, I understand those consequences.
Well, I guess the positive in it from these things is really mostly going to come on the consumer side. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say it. It's all convenient. It's terribly convenient. Like, I love it. Like, I don't love it in practice. Like, what? It's all fine. Like if you have the money to spend on it, it's like it's a pretty good service a lot of the time. Like these things, like getting loaded and not having to worry about driving home is fantastic.
Safety wise, it's great. Not just it's as far as public safety. Lyft and Uber have been a godsend. Now you could argue, does it make me drink more? Because I'm like, well, I took a Lyft out to this show. If I go home sober in a Lyft, I feel like I've just wasted so much money. So therefore, I am personal responsibility damaging myself much more when I know I've got to ride home. That also might be a negative. You kind of had to work that into your bar tab. Yeah.
It's another $30.
It's all If I priced out what my DUI cost over how many times I should have had one, trust me. Take the Lyfts, takes the Ubers. I like that when they came in because I lived in LA when that stuff started and all we had were cabs, but it's not like it's a city where the cabs are centralized and it was illegal to flag down a cab. First off, you could never wave one down. Yeah, you had to call a cab. I saw people at the airport like not understanding why cabs wouldn't stop for them. They would go to a taxi stand or you had to call them. And you had an app called Taxi Magic, and it sucked because it would be like, well, maybe we'll be there in 8 minutes. Actually, it's 45 minutes, and you're trying to go to the airport or something. So I have zero sympathy for cab drivers in Los Angeles when they're like, oh, this Uber and Lyft is putting us out of business. I'm like, you are already out of business because you guys sucked. And just the slightest idea of competition came in, and you crumbled or just joined Lyft and Uber because you guys completely abused the idea of being cab drivers in Los Angeles and never showed up anywhere anybody needed you. You wouldn't allow people to flag you down. So Sunset Strip, everybody's coming out of clubs drunk. And unless they waited an hour on Taxi Magic, you wouldn't pick anybody up. So thank you for Uber and Lyft in those situations.
I do think one of the benefits of it is, and this kind of brings it full circle to the I'm drunk, I took a Lyft and Uber out, is the fact that you can get greasy food delivered to you the day after you have been drinking all night and you're so fucking hungover is awesome. If I'm just like, I don't want to do anything, I'm going to lay in bed all day, wake up, and go back to sleep. And the most thing I'm only going to consume calories until I have to get out of this bed. Having somebody deliver a big spicy bowl of pho when you're hungover and not having to put any effort into it. True. Postmates, whatever, Uber Eats, I fucking love it. It's not good. And, it's probably going to put a lot of people in early graves, but God damn it. What a
That's the bonus of Postmates.
What a wake.
Yeah. No matter what food you get, it'll be wet and greasy by the time it gets to you.
That's true.
No matter what you order, that's what's coming to you through their little steam bag that's in a backpack on the back of a 10-speed for half a city.
It's not. And here they never deliver it to your door. That is the thing that I fucking hate about it. They'll just be like, come downstairs. Like, fucking lot of attitude on you.
Oh, yeah, I'm in a hotel. I'm in the lobby. Cool, I'm in my room. That's where that's why the room number's on there, is so you deliver it to me. Walk in there, I'm like one sock on, half a boner. I don't, my Catholic guilt, I think, being hungover, like I won't take ibuprofen or anything. Of like, if I'm hungover, I earned that hangover, and that's my penance for wanting to have that kind of fun. So that's more of an issue with me. But Postmates, I'm like, nope. You get up and you go get it. You put this hurt on yourself, and you accept what you did to yourself. I don't get shortcuts the day after a night of drinking.
Yeah, I do. I will. I don't care. I'm like fucking. Oh, now I want to play the fucking high and mighty card. No, I'm a piece of shit all the way through. Clean living starts tomorrow. It doesn't start the day after a hangover.
It's not clean living. It's more of punishment. It's more of I don't deserve this luxury. Well, talking about the good and the bad. Now, obviously, all the CEOs of these companies think they're great because of what we mentioned. Like the CEO of Taskrabbit says, according to this Fortune article, it becomes very clear that platforms like Taskrabbit are a resource for people unable to leave their homes or needing extra help. That's true. Okay. You got an old person. No longer do you have to go door to door to swindle a senior citizen. They'll call you. They'll call you to come to their homes. You don't have to pretend to be selling roofing. They'll let you in.
That is such a load of bullshit. How many senior citizens do you know that can look at an iPhone without accidentally taking a picture of their face? And they're going to fucking figure out Taskrabbit? That's fucking... They're like, it attacked me. Like, I just wanted someone to,
I could see it
clean my gutters.
Yeah, I could see, like, now that, Rachel and I are in a house now, and I'm looking at stuff that I'm like, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to, like... I can't get mad at this when we have a lawn service guy. I could mow a lawn. I don't want to. Isn't part of like living is
you could mow a lawn.
I could. I have no desire to. I have no interest in doing it. What do you work? You work to afford yourself your necessities, your food and shelter, and then luxuries. What do you deem to be a luxury? Mine is not doing any lawn care whatsoever.
Here's the thing. I've never used Taskrabbit for anything or I've never hired a handyman service or anything. And I don't know if it's my fragile male ego, but I'm like, I should know how to do something this simple.
Yeah.
Like, I should be able to figure that. Like, I should know what a pilot hole is and be able to drill something into, like.
Yeah. I've fucked up a lot of projects around here because of that frail magic ego, male fragile ego.
Yeah.
Arrogant.
Frail magic ego.
My frail magic ego.
Well, I'll tell you this. There are a lot of holes behind this Jawbreaker poster because we were like, we got to fix the backdrops for the podcast. I had to move it. There's you can see. And, but I can't fathom that hiring a Taskrabbit guy is that necessary. You know what I mean? Like, that can't be it.
Well, that
can't be what they're needing.
That's what I'm curious is how good of a job, without having experience, how good of a job Taskrabbit would do. I don't see anything wrong with like, if you is supply and demand, if you're a young lady and you don't mind being naked in front of people for money, get paid. If you're a dude that's like, well, I can move shit, get paid. Like, I don't mind that as long as they like professional movers. That's another thing too. I could move boxes, but man, you move once and you're like, oh, I got stairs at this new place. Nope. Here's my money. I watched two Russian guys almost assassinate each other in the alley behind my old apartment. And I was like, that whatever.
Because they were moving?
Yeah, and they do this for a living. And I was going to do this by myself? Thank God.
That's just like when I moved to a new apartment here, I just automatically figure in, it's like, all right, well, deposit everything. That's going to be like whatever, three grand first and last and all this kind of stuff. And then I'm like, and then another $600 for the mover. Mm-hmm. Like, just no, like, I don't, but that's such a pain in the ass. Like, I'm paying for that because I don't want the stress of it.
Yeah.
More than I don't like, because the work is not too hard on that one. But like mowing a lawn or like cleaning out gutters, I think I would do. That's not. Moving's already stressful enough. I don't think mowing your lawn is stressful. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I've decided what I would rather pay for. You know, it also sucks is being hung over, but I'm like, nope, I don't get to pay money for that. Also, the idea of paying $40 for Taco Bell, that just burn your money. Just burn your money and lick your floor for nutrients. That's how irresponsible you are as a human.
Well, I think like the true bad of these things is that the people who are actually doing the work are not being compensated fairly a lot of the time.
No, it is crummy for them that they're doing all the work and getting none of the money. So, but that's the bad thing.
I hate when I see on the apps like 100% of the tip goes to the driver or your Taskrabbit guy. It's like, yeah, no shit. That's the implication. That imply you told me how greedy a company you are by just saying that out loud.
By stating
that is
the
so
law.
Fucking insane.
Yeah, by stating the law.
Yeah, they're like 100% of the tip goes to the driver. Oh, it's not going to go some. You mean to tell me this fucking billionaire tech CEO isn't getting 10% of everybody's tips that drives for fucking Uber? That would be the most fucked thing I had ever heard in my life. That'd be like, that's like how Blockbuster made money on late fees and not actual movie rentals. Mm-hmm. That's the same. Like, I just have these guys drive around, and then when they get a few bucks, I dip in there and wet my beak a little bit.
I do feel bad for them. Like, my buddy has a pizza place and he won't use it because in the end, they take like such a percentage to deliver the food. It's like, this is all I'm doing is I'm breaking even by using them. And it's not worth it. It's like, yeah, your name's out there, but it's like not worth it. But to hire your own drivers, you have to provide insurance and everything. So he's just like, I think his wife delivers, or if he has time, he goes out while somebody stays at the shop. They don't help the restaurant. They don't necessarily pay the drivers a lot, but it helps the people who can't leave. I'm always focusing on hungover, lazy people when it's not really that. Some people are like, oh, I got 3 little kids at home. I'm not going to pile them into the car to go get dinner. That's a pain in the ass. I will spend this extra money to get this food. Or you are sick, you're hurt, you're elderly, you don't have the means to get out there. So there is good for this, but I think.
Well, yeah, and it helped everybody get through the pandemic a little more sanely too, to like have people like be like, oh, well, it's like support this restaurant whatever day, you know, like, and people like, you could do that, but you know, really it's the convenience of it that is what's the best thing about it. But I guess you kind of weigh your morality against like how much. I guess the only way you really make a difference is if you give them like a $10 tip every time. Or whatever for, you know, like, and they're not getting that from everybody.
And in which case, now you're spending $50 for an $8 sandwich.
Yeah, I did that. When I did Postmates for that guy, I brought him like a $70 order from some Greek place, but it was like elevated whatever demand.
Yeah.
I guess a football game was on or something.
Surge pricing.
And then it ended up being $120. Yeah, surge pricing. Thank you. End up being $120 tab for like $70 worth of food. And then he also tipped me 25% of the 120, like on the, so like there was like every once in a while you get a little fucking like, all right, you know, like made my fucking day. But Jesus, sometimes it's just fucking brutal. The surge pricing thing is disgusting too.
Yeah.
I hate surge pricing, but what I hate more,
gouging? You mean gouging, the term that is used for every other business when that happens? Oh, you need it bad? We'll charge more. It's called gouging, but for some reason with this, they can call it surge, and we just accept it.
It's theft is what the fuck it is.
Positive.
But like I do.
We're not doing a good job trying to speak well of this.
I will say this is the one time I am really on this company side. It's like, when people on New Year's Eve always post $300 to get from Queens to Brooklyn. Yeah. And you're like, you knew this was coming. Yeah. Like both sides are wrong in this argument. Yeah. Like I fucking like, that's the one where I kind of like, I'm not on their side, but I'm like, let's call it a tie.
No, I don't.
Like, these fucking.
Yeah. You could take advantage of New Year's Eve. I will say I complained about some, DoorDash or something on I got angry because I ordered from a restaurant. I was in a hotel, so I didn't have a car with me. And that's a way like, okay, I need food. Normally I will on purpose order from like a Domino's or something, not because I like it, but because they just employ their own delivery drivers and I don't have to mess with this third party shit and guess when my food's going to get there. But this website is like, order from us. Like didn't tell me that it would then go to DoorDash. And so I click through like, oh, that's an expensive service charge. And then I realized it was DoorDash. It's like, your driver will be there in 8 minutes. Well, it was 40 minutes and it was fine. But I complained about it on Twitter and somebody was saying, it's like, it's a great way that people that I have a car and I just already have a day job and I want to make extra money for this or extra money for that. So I can just log on and put a few extra bucks in my pocket. So that is beneficial from the employee standpoint.
Yeah, I guess like if you're trying to add a few extra bucks to your pocket, it's like moonlighting. It's somebody bartending it's a teacher bartending at Applebee's or whatever.
Yeah,
to make a difference.
Also
but like,
sad. Also,
yes,
a bummer.
Kind of worse. Yeah. Next week, the public school system, friend or foe. Anyways,
turned 21 and got wasted with my old 5th grade math teacher at Applebee's.
Yeah. Mr. Clinkscale still got it. Anyway, I do think, where the fuck was I going? Yeah. If you're trying to, I guess it can make a difference if you're trying to add a few bucks to your income, but if it's your sole income, I don't know how far ahead how folks get with it, you know, like,
well,
especially because they take a lot. And then like, if you think of Uber driver, like you're devaluing your car every time you drive it. Like there's a lot, like, you know, it depreciates. And then I know people rent cars from Uber now to drive for them. Like they have like,
well, I think
they have crazy fucking like Uber wants to be like the only cars on the road, right? Like that's one of their business models.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't know what we're heading towards.
That like one of their goals is just to be like, it's not to be every rideshare, or, you know, it's to be every car, like in shipping too. And like, so it's quite scary because I read, it's like, they want to move more towards self-driving vehicles too. So we're kind of funding our own execution of like serviceable drivers and stuff if we use it, because like the other thing they think about is like, if they get into shipping, like trucking, there are these little towns everywhere who a lot of their income is based off of like truck stops and people dropping in and like filling up their tanks and stuff. Those will go extinct.
Oh yeah, I mean, as we're
more people moved.
Recording this, there's the truck protests in Canada, and enjoy the ability to do that before your job is taken by the robots.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm trying. I still, my positives are with rideshares, just from a dude who likes to have drinks when he goes out. So they've saved my ass.
Big
I'm
one
not
from
thinking about the implications. I'm not thinking about. I have not thrown up in a Lyft or an Uber. I know it happens, and that's a bummer. And then I guess you get an extra $150 cleaning fee out of Lyft or Uber. And then I was talking to one driver. He's like, "Yeah, I got this mix of like granola and chocolate milk. I mix it together. It looks like barf. So I splash that on the seat. And then I get my cleaning fee." Because he's like, one guy, some of these, how about this for a benefit?
I'm like, hey, but that's like when I would like be like, I would go to like, when I worked at Fridays, I'd be like, oh, they didn't like this and they'd already paid cash. And then I'd have the manager take off a $20 plate of ribs straight into my pocket.
The problem with that is, as much as I think it's subversive, is the CEO is never going to be like, uh-oh, our profits are dropping. I better recalculate what I take from this company. They're just going to charge more for you to use the product.
Yeah.
The money never, the CEOs never like recalibrate, like, you know what, I think I'm making too much given that where the income is less now. It's like, no, we'll just charge more. So as much as that's like, seems like a subversive thing, like you're taking it from the corporation, we all get fucked in the end. Anybody using the service,
that's the way the game is still
gets fucked in the end by that kind of stuff. So that's, I agree too. I feel like short term, it feels like sticking it to the man. Long term, the man always sticks it. The man never gets stuck.
I think you're like, that's a real, the only way you can make it was like, I'm out for myself on this. Fuck everybody else. Here's my granola and chocolate milk chunks.
Yeah. I got a few bucks,
and like,
but now our rates go up. Also, like, does it smell in here? I'm like, don't ask me that right when I got in your lift. I feel like the early days were a little bit rowdy with that stuff, because everybody's like, I'm a Lyft driver, and then all this scary shit was happening with people. Hopefully that's been weeded out a little bit.
I sure hope so, because there was a lot of that, like, also that shit of like, give me that aux cord, let me play my own. Like, people were just like, had no sense of etiquette when they would get into these vehicles. They're like, hey, right now I just want to hear Jimmy Eat World. Let me fucking crank it, or you're not getting a tip.
Yeah, like they rented a stretch limo. It's like, no, man. I know you're paying. Like, it's like, think of how much you're paying. It's a favor that you're giving somebody a couple bucks for.
Yeah, it's fucking. Yeah, it's like, so yeah. Stop acting like it's fucking prom night again. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I will say that's bad for the people that use these services. That the customers really feel like they can be pieces of shit towards these poor people. They're not making, nobody's getting rich. Nobody's like, hey, what did you use all that money you made with Lyft? How'd you spell? I paid the interest off on my student loan for a year. Like, they're not swimming in cash. Just because
but I got to do it when I want, from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. on a Saturday night at a bar. It's on the bar rush.
Yeah. When I want her to be at the bar, I'm going to drive all these drunks home. man, I don't know if do you think you would have the patience to deal with? I mean, you did in some sense.
I bartended forever, but there was a lot of liberty in like being like, get the fuck out, especially at Holman's when I worked there.
Yeah.
Like I would, yeah. I mean, I guess you might have that autonomy with Uber, but I don't, or those kind of like rideshare stuff, like, but I don't know like what kind of abuse they have to suffer that
complaining about their food.
Yeah.
When it's like, yeah, what did you ordered shitty food to begin with. And then it sat in a 19-year-old's Sonata for the better part of an hour.
I think I talked to one guy about the rating system, and he goes, well, like if you've done like 6,000 rides and somebody's like, I'm going to give you 0 fucking stars or whatever. Mm-hmm. He goes, it's like, it doesn't matter because it's aggregated. Like one of those bad reviews is not going to be like plummeting his rating or anything like that, you know, which I guess means they get like the rating system gives them priority on pickups and stuff, but I don't, maybe,
That's what it is.
But yeah. So I guess there is some defense to it the more you do it, but then again, that becomes kind of cyclical because if you're like, I want to be able to like make more money at this, I have to keep doing it more and be poor longer in the beginning of the, you know, like and then before you know it, you're fucking 70. Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't been scared in a lift in a while. And then in Rhode Island, we got some old Eastern European guy using reading glasses to see the road during an ice storm. I'm like, oh man, this is them early days of riding a lift where people that got to this country with a horse and buggy or just have a rental car. They're driving strangers around you. It was terrifying. I missed the thrill. I missed the early days. Remember when Uber was Uber? You got in the back seat and Lyft. They wanted you to sit in the front seat and fist bump them. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
I don't.
Lyft was a little cooler. I missed the credit you got in the beginning. Like right when it first came out, they gave you a $30 credit on your first ride. Do you remember that? If you were like, put in the code Bigfoot Lodge, and when you signed up for it, and you would get a free ride home.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, and now I mean those days are long gone.
No, I remember. And then being like, I remember being on a date, and the Sidecar was the app. Before Uber and Lyft, there was Sidecar, and I could not understand. So I was like, I'm going to call Sidecar. I'm like, what is it? She's like, well, it's like a taxi, but they're just in their car. I'm like, that's not safe or legal at all. You're just going to randomly dial someone with your phone and see if they want to pick you up for an amount of money that will both guess on. Like, I'm like, none of this makes sense. I could not understand what she was talking about. And
it's crazy how fast it became normal.
As I sit here, I'm like, I couldn't. By that first day, I remember being downtown. Like, that's it. And it's just somebody's like Chevy Cruze. I'm like, we're just getting in a guy's car right now. How does he know where we live?
Yeah,
I'm just gonna tell him. That's weird. I don't want to tell him. And
it's pretty. It's
with your food. You trust them with your dogs. We trust strangers. We trust strangers with every aspect of our lives, but we won't trust scientists with vaccines. Sorry, tying it into contemporary issues.
Yeah. Oh man, that is yeah, you're right. I don't know how to say it other than that.
I think the good and bad is the good is like, yeah, if you're lazy or a drunk or otherwise inconvenienced by life, these are good services. They're not good to the employees unless they were to unionize, which
they're certainly not necessary. Is the one thing we need, like we can't say about it. Like the good coming from them doesn't really seem necessary, and the negative seems to be mostly on the workforce getting fucked. And
I'll say they're necessary,
but you get to work when you want.
I'll say, and again, Lyft and Uber is the ones I use the most. I will say it's necessary for somebody like us. We got to go to the airport every weekend, and if it was in a city where like, oh, airport parking is $100 a day, unless you want to basically park 2 blocks away from your own apartment,
By your
take a bus into
Yeah.
the airport. Then it was, oh yeah, this is good. It's, again, like in a city in Los Angeles, where taxi cabs were non-existent, or you had to go over all these hurdles to use them. Then it was good. Then that was a necessary thing, and it really filled a void that existed. And it's a city where everybody has a car, so everybody can sign up and make a few bucks because it's such a spread out city. That was good for people to do that as a consumer. Postmates, I walk down the street.
Yeah. Do you think there's a way to game the system with like Uber? Like, say you and Rachel were leaving for the airport, but you drove Uber. Like, you could just turn on your car and pay for your own Uber if you got assigned Rachel.
I think they probably
And like
see
from
who,
her.
like the well, I don't, my gaming the system was if I was drinking and I needed a ride home anyway, and there's a pizza place nearby, I would just order a pizza and then be like, "How about I show you where I live?" And if a couple times they were cool with it.
A couple times not.
Well, people are like,
What was the no
people
like?
are like, we can't do. You can't hit like a Domino's or something, or you got to catch them on the way out and be like, "Hey man, I got a 10. I got a 10 for you. You want to just let me cruise with you?"
Yeah. You just like walk up, some guy's walking out with a hot bag in his hand, and you're like, "Is that for Kyle?" You just fucking...
Yeah, pretty much. It works. I mean, pizza delivery drivers are cowboys to begin with. They're usually down to party.
Yeah, that's true. They really my buddy Blake, who's still one of my best friends, still delivers pizza, and he goes, "It's fucking great, man. I just get high, listen to music all day. Nobody fucking tells me what to do. I leave. That's it."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I guess yeah. I never did that work, but it would have been all right.
I was a delivery driver. That is absolutely
Well,
what happens.
everyone, I think we have solved nothing, but we have gotten our points and views across. We'll be right back after this ad from the Joe Rogan Experience. He's gone downhill. And we're back. Our thanks to the truckers in Canada for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. This is the part of the podcast that's my favorite, where Kyle and I hear from you, the listeners. Welcome to the litter box, everybody. Let's get shitty.
Go to the calls.
Hey guys, I don't know if it's too late, but I was calling with FYI about Uber and Lyft. I worked for them for a long time, and it's great to have the flexibility to clock in and clock out and all that kind of stuff, and get to drive around and explore and talk to new people. But those companies are so viciously greedy and evil that it makes me want to throw Molotov cocktails through their windows. Basically, what's interesting is that when those companies began, they took a straight they took a straight percentage of each ride from the driver. So if the rider paid a certain amount, they would take a consistent straight percentage cut like an agent would for connecting two people that want to do business with each other, which is exactly what they are. They're an agent connecting the rider and the driver. But gradually, bit by bit, when they update their service terms, they change the entire business model. So they don't take a cut anymore. Now what they do is they charge the riders whatever they want, and then they pay a rate out to drivers that's based on like a taxi fare per mile per minute. Then they can put in these like video game incentives to try to get, $2 bonus here and there, $100 bonus, you get this many rides, whatever. Basically just control every bit and take as much money for themselves as they can. So they're taking up to like 40, 50 short rides, as much as like 60 or 70% per ride. And the drivers who have been doing it for years can tell you that their income from working the same amount of hours, doing the same amount of rides has dropped precipitously, 30, 40, 50, 60% over the course of like 5 years from when they were trying to entice people in, but also when they had a viable model with aligned incentives for everybody, where they would just take a percentage cut from the rate that the rider paid to connect them to the driver for providing the connector agent service that they did. That's a long one. I don't know if you guys recorded already, but hope that's helpful. Love you guys' work. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Man, that that is an insightful call. Thank you. Man, that makes me...
We should have had him host this episode.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to defend. I mean, is the employees unionizing? Is that the key to it so they can get the benefits of being an employee of a massive corporation? Unions might just be a topic for this show next week. Who knows?
I mean, that guy really broke it down in a lot of ways that I had not.
Hey, yeah, you're still doing the same thing, but we're going to get more now. What was it's like, oh, so nothing was wrong before except for that they realized they could get more money from people. That's free market capitalism is gonna collapse us. Oh,
what a fucking
go to our page.
Crazy way to think about it too. Like for somebody to be like, no, we'll make more money if we fuck them. Like,
and in a situation where, oh, you don't like it, it's a free country. Just go work somewhere else. If they're all doing this, it seems like everything's rigged. It almost seems like everything's rigged to keep people broke.
Maybe.
Right? Doesn't it almost seem that way? Capitalism, up next on No Accounting for Taste. We defend capitalism. Get it where you can get it. Step on somebody's skull to get an extra nickel.
Yep, more money, less problems. That's what I always say.
Free market capitalism. I love it. I love the USA and free market capitalism. All right, we're going to have all our stuff made in China. Well, hold on a second.
Well, the good news is nothing. I don't know. If somebody's listening to this podcast as an actual employee of Uber or Lyft or one of these kind of like who works on maybe the tech side or who doesn't drive or do the actual gigging, if you will, give us a ring back because I would just like to hear about it.
Yeah, who's crunching the numbers over there?
And see how they treat you as a company.
Yeah, who's coming up with these new methods?
971-259-8302.
That is a good question. We know the people who are on the bottom end of the gig economy, the worker ants.
The people with the mops in their hands. I don't know how to say it other than that, but the people with like the metaphorical cleaning up.
You were that person. I didn't. I was warehouse and I did, but I never was employed by an app. I had shit jobs, but I was never. I guess I'll turn my phone on to see if I want to work today. I was never in that position. But man, hard to defend. Outside of the fact that it is convenient for me as an individual with disposable income, I'm the reason it's making it worse is because I will use it. It
is hard to defend, and we like using the thing sometimes. That should tell you how bad it is. You're like it's hard to defend, and I use Uber and Lyft.
Convenience can dominate when everything else in life is tough.
Yeah. Next week, we talk about the good guys, Amazon. Bezos, hero to us all, enemy to none.
Put him on some crypto bills.
If anyone has books on any of these subjects or materials that we might find useful, send them to us. We could shout them out on the next episode of No Accounting for Taste.
Hey, have you written a book about Lyft?
Not like books.
Imagine somebody taking
not books. I'm not talking to the author. I'm talking to the people who may have read about it. Fine, I tried. Maybe I wanted to educate our audience a little. We did not do that today.
No, we just
we did.
I totally got
it.
I got in a bitching mood instead of the whole point of the podcast is to celebrate it. Thank you, Lyft and Uber, for getting me home safe. Almost every night I've been out at a show or at a bar. Occasionally, Postmates or DoorDash. You did bring me some Chinese food when I was in Rhode Island, although it took an hour. It was still warm. Thank God it was like a curry, so it was supposed to be wet. Don't try and order dry food from that, but wet food, always good. Like
Much like a cat,
yeah,
you
like
want them to have wet food and dry.
like a finicky cat.
Everybody, Kyle Kinane's pet. The kitty cat. Got it,
walking
Matt.
into the desert, man. I'm out. I gotta go off into the sunset. Uh-oh, looks like sun setting in the desert. Oh, sun went down. Sun come up.
Well, everyone. Kyle, tell the people where they can find you.
KyleKinane.com.
Yep. And social media handles are all Kyle Kinane.
Yeah.
For me, he is Shane Torres on all social media handles. Our thanks to the great Charlene Connolly for producing this podcast and keeping this train on the tracks that most certainly would have gone and railroaded into some poor family's home. This has been a all things comedy podcast. I'm not sure they knew what they were buying.
Spike Lee joint.
We'll see you next week. Yeah. Next week, we defend ivermectin.
I thought you were going to say ivory. I'm like, oof, that's a rough one.
Yeah, that seems to be a little less controversial these days. Thanks for listening to Accounting for Taste. We're out of here, everybody. This is the time where we say goodnight. I went up for the national anthem sing.
Ooh.